Stroke objects for artistic effect. So a panel that we need to look at when we're dealing with strokes is the stroke panel. So I'm going to go under window and stroke. I know that cut off, but you can see it actually is typical. It will be available with the essentials workspace when I have my essentials set up here. So this is the stroke. Actually, it looks like 3 lines. That's the panel icon. I'm going to actually click, drag it out, collapse those. This is, at the moment, we're not seeing all of the options. So I'll just use my line tool, make a straight line. I'll hold shift, make sure it's certainly straight. At this point, my line has a fill of none and a stroke of none. Let's bring stroke to the front and let's give it a stroke. We'll click on the little black icon here in color, fast way to apply the stroke. All right, so my stroke is at 1 point. This is called my stroke weight, and stroke is always measured in points, and we always call it a weight. So I also can change that up here, up by my menu, where I have stroke also. So that option is available when I have objects that I have a stroke or an outline. Okay, so we have other options that we can play with, and I'm going to increase this quite a bit. And you have a drop down where you can set some select some predefined. Let's go to 40. That's pretty large. I wanted to do this because I want to show you the different types of options we have for our stroke. I want to extend. I'm going to click. Remember, this is kind of that window shade effect, and it's okay that I'm covering the other side of the stroke. So we have different caps, and a cap is applied at the end of the stroke. We have a butt cap. You can see where my cursor is at. With the tooltip, we have a rounded cap and we have projecting caps. So the butt cap is one that is squared. That's the default. So my anchor point and the stroke ends right on that anchor point of my path or my line segment. If I choose the rounded cap, watch what happens. Keep your eyes right here where my cursor is circling around the end of the stroke. Here's the rounded cap. So it rounds it. Typically, this is most appealing to the eye. So I'll show you when we get some corner points here what happens with these different caps, because there is some differences and some, again, easier ways to connect lines. The last one is projecting. So instead of the butt where it ends right at the anchor point, this actually gets squared out. So the total stroke weight right now is at 40. That means from my line segment, I've got about 20 points in either direction. And then also I would have 20 points then going out, if that makes sense. So the projecting just sort of squares and extends it beyond the anchor point at a distance that is 1/2 of the width of the stroke. So now my joins, let's make with my line tool. So let's go to the pen tool and do this. And I'll just scroll and my cursor here. Click. I'll hold shift to make sure we have a nice and pretty corner. All right, and I can use my control key to deselect. Okay, so if I select this with my direct selection tool, you can see that I've got 3 anchor points. This is a corner point. Okay. So with it selected here, again, I can change my end caps, and that affects how the ends and projecting, okay? And then here's my corners. So my corners are basically the way that they join, my joins. So I have a miter, I have a round, and I have a bevel. So the miter is with pointed, okay, pointed strokes. I have my round, which rounds it. Okay, gives it a little bit actual softer feel. And then I have my bevel, which squares it off. It's a squared corner there. So the greater the stroke weight, the more apparent this join is. If I'm working on something that's fairly small, it's a lot harder to see exactly what's going on there. And typical strokes, you're going to be like at 1 and 2, and you really can't see what's going on when it's that small. Let's select this again and bring it up pretty large. Okay, so the miter limit, what in the world is that? When I have my miter corner, my miter join, my tooltip's not popping up for me, there it is. So the miter determined, when that miter joint will be squared off to a beveled edge. So the miter is the length of the point from inside to out. Okay, so the default is 4 times the stroke weight. So if I start messing around with this, let's be extreme here. I'm just going to press tab. Nothing happens. Let's do a limit of high. See, you're not going to see a whole lot happen. Let's do a limit of low. Still not going to see anything happen with my specific point. So it's a little bit of a trick with that one. I'll be honest with you, I don't really use that. In certain cases when we do outlines, and you'll see this, that there'll be certain times when it'll do odd things, and especially on boxes, something that has a closed shape. Let's go and look at, I'm going to create a box now. This one actually you might be able to see some of the miters that might be effective with the corner. I've got such an odd stroke here that it's more difficult. The align stroke says center. So what this is doing, I'm going to decrease this. This is going to get pretty crazy fast. Okay, so this means that it's centered. So, you know, 50% on each side of my path. The aligning it to the inside pushes all of the stroke to the inside. So my object is right here, but all of that stroke weight is on the inside, and the reversal where it's to the outside, so everything is on the outside. Okay. I also can choose to do a dashed line, and a dashed line is kind of fun. You can do the exact. This preserves exact, and the other icon here basically does a little bit of an adjustment. So this would be adjust the dash, which sometimes people like that. With the dash line, I can customize it. So I can say my dash being 12 points and my gap, maybe I want that to be 24. And you can see I can get a pattern going here. Now with the exact, I get these kind of funky things going on around the outside edge. And I'm not sure why, but I'm not able to change that. We'll see what that is, why that is happening. But I can play around with this. Now also I can round these. Let's do something a little bit smaller here. Let's do a 10 point and a 24 point gap. You can see that I can start really playing around and making almost a dotted line. Okay. Let's put that on the center. There we go. That's why. So I forgot. Again, these things are sticky, so be careful. Just like what I did, I had it still aligned to the outside, and I didn't want to change my dashed line options. So this is exact. See how I get these kind of odd ends at my corners. Now if I do the where it adjusts it, now everything seems like it looks a little bit cleaner. It lines up a little bit better. So Illustrator is mathematically making some adjustments to make those corners look nice. All right, so those are the stroke lines. So the stroke panel, again, you make sure that you're seeing all the options, because it may just be very collapsed and see only the weight. So clicking those double arrows will allow you to extend it to see more options.